Being a father is about a relationship. It's not about a check. It's not about Christmas gifts. It's not about birthday presents. All that's nice, but that's not what it's about. It's about building a relationship with the child. And if you're coming into a child's life in later years after being gone 10, 15 years, you can't come in that child's life as a disciplinarian. You can't come in that child's life because you don't have the foundation. You have to build a floor for love to stand on. And that's experiences you share with them and easing into that process gently. And if you married a woman and there is a child and the child doesn't know you as a father, you've got to be patient, you got to be wise, and you got to be careful because Dexter and I are standing on 25 years of foundation. Okay, so 25 years of foundation, and if you don't lay that foundation right, it's hard to come in there overnight in a weekend or in 3 months or in the first year and set up and make up for 25 years of not being there in a year and start arguing and fussing and yelling and telling his mama you're not raising them right. Wait. You don't know me. You know, you haven't changed my diapers. You haven't pushed my tricycle. You haven't had no picnics with me. You didn't take me to the carnival. You didn't take me to the fair. We never been to Six Flags. We never been to Disneyland. You didn't help me put together a truck. You didn't sit down and help me put together a puzzle. All of those little things that look like nothing. Little things are big things. This is what I learned. This is what my children taught me. Little things are big things, and big things are little things. The things that I did that I thought would have the greatest impact on them, they say nothing about. I always use this as a reference. I bought my eldest son a piano, and I think I use it as a reference because it was so hard to do, and it was expensive. And I went through everything in the world to get it and surprise him, and it was what he wanted. And he had a fit. I mean, he went crazy. I thought he was going to asphyxiate at Christmas morning when we brought him downstairs, and there was this big bow in this piano. I thought I was going to have to call a paramedic for him. Fast forward 25 years later, it just never comes up. It just never comes up. It's not that he didn't love it at the time, not that he didn't appreciate it in the moment, but the things that my kids talk about around the dinner table teach me what mattered to them. And the things that matter to them have nothing to do with nothing you bought. It has everything to do with what you did. So fatherhood is an equal opportunity position. It's not easier to do it if you're wealthy. Sometimes I think it's harder to do because you're busier. It's not about stuff. It's about time. It's about investment. It's about moments, creating moments. We have all of these moments between us where we were, I laugh because I remember when you were wanting to play ping pong with me when we were in Mexico. And he had been to work with me all day on a project that I was working on. And he sat there quietly all day playing in a corner, just happy to be wherever his father was. Not realizing that I'm exposing him to business, but that was a side effect and an arbitrary experience of seeing you in leadership roles, that kind of thing. But his big payoff was for us to play ping pong afterwards when we got back to the hotel. Now, I am the worst ping pong player in the history of America. And I am a horrible ping pong player because my father never played ping pong with me, so it never was important to me. And we didn't have no ping pong table to begin with. And ping pong didn't come up on my radar. And I couldn't play. Truth be told, I couldn't play ping pong any better than him. And it might be arguable that you might have been better than me.
I was going to say, I don't know if I'm a great ping pong player, and I'm not too offended. I'm not too offended by you not being great at it.
Well, yeah. So the point wasn't being good at it. The point was being present.
Yeah.
It was something we did together. And he had a ball with that ping pong. You know, he had a ball with that ping pong and running after the ball and us chasing it and hitting it back and forth. And I think anybody who was watching us would have concluded that we were both completely dysfunctional. Completely. I mean, rehab dysfunctional. But it didn't matter because we were doing it together. And before the trip was over, I remember getting on the plane to come back and thinking, I'm busy trying to teach him how to be a man, and he's busy trying to teach me how to be a child again. And we both needed it. We
It
both
was class and empathy.
yeah.
Yeah. I think those type of moments kind of help to level the playing field where obviously you're my father and there's a certain pedestal that you will always be on, but it helped me to understand that we were on the same side. And then that makes any conversation that we have as a result of that more impactful. That doesn't mean that we don't disagree, but we learn to empathize. We can have a mutual understanding. We're on the same side. And I feel like frequently a child and their parent need to have that lesson in empathy. You and your kid can obviously sit on other sides of the spectrum, but at the end of the day, they need to know that you have a partner through thick and thin. There is unconditional love that survives all of that stuff.
And we didn't disagree till he was adolescent. But by the time he became adolescent, there was a floor poured, there was a foundation there.
Right.
So in the height of the disagreement, the one thing I wasn't gonna do is go at him like he was an enemy. I would never do that. Whether he was wrong or I was wrong, I'm never gonna turn my guns on him and attack him like I would another predator because he's my son. And I just wouldn't do that. You know, I wouldn't do that. And we have had some hot arguments, but I could count them on one hand and have fingers. But when we did, I would always stop shy of going for the throat because he's my son. And we've had a relationship and there's a foundation for it. And he's never disrespected me because I'm his father. And I think the most painful thing to go through is that high level of disrespect from your son. And if you've confronted that, you have to ask yourself honestly, did you lay the kind of foundation that won their respect? And let me say this about respect, because this is something that I learned from my children. Children can accept a flawed father. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be present. If you are present, they may get mad, they may get upset, they may be shocked, but present will override imperfections. No matter how bad the imperfection is, if you make the deposit when you need a withdrawal, there's something to draw from. You cannot withdraw from a bank where you haven't made a deposit. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I also think that takes a level of vulnerability that I'm not sure if that's in the contract of parenting. You know, that rarely happens where a parent is vulnerable and that they have that level of a vulnerable relationship with each other. But I certainly concur with your sentiments.
Well, you know, that vulnerability is for an appropriate time. We became vulnerable. I became more vulnerable as he became older. And he asked me, why didn't you talk to me sooner? And I said, it wasn't time yet. And I think that parents who get too vulnerable with little children damage them. You're sitting around having a drink with your child, smoking a joint with your child, bearing your secrets and issues with your child. Your child is not your therapist, it's your child. And exposing your children to the problems between you and your wife too soon, all that kind of stuff is damaging. It's damaging and detrimental to the relationship. Not irreparable, but damaging. I've got a few things because I don't want to go too long, but I got a few things for us to talk about that I thought were important.
Let's go.
One of them we kind of hit on, knowing when to be what to your child. It's very important, knowing when to be what to your child. The relationship is like a disco dance. It changes depending on the age they're at. Sometimes they want things early that you have to hold back till they're old enough to handle. Sometimes you want things early from them and you don't understand. You don't understand why he doesn't think like that. He's not your age. And so if you, in order to raise a kid and understand them, and you're 40 and he's 19, you can't think like a 40-year-old and talk to a 19-year-old. You have to go back and remember what you were like at 19 to understand how he processes things at that age. There's a natural narcissism that goes along with youth where they're self-centered. It's about me, and especially in adolescence, it's about me. It's about my niece. Why did you do this to me? And you did that to me and that other to me. But that goes along with that age and that stage. You can't go out and slit your wrist because your 17-year-old child said something to you that was painful. It hurts. It hurts real bad. But you have to suck it up and be the bigger person because you're after a long-term goal of being effective in their life. And this is a lifelong relationship. It's going to go on all the way to your grave. And if you're lucky enough to die first, a lot of things they won't understand about you until they try to be you. I can remember your sisters holding onto my leg when I was going out the door to go speak, crying, saying, "Daddy, don't go." And they would just be mortally wounded because I was leaving to go out to go speak. And the ones who held on to my leg the most, which incidentally you never did, the ones who incidentally held on to my legs the most and cried and said, "Daddy, don't go," are the ones who are on the road preaching now. Okay. Yeah. And I think, oh no, not you. Not you. But it takes them a while when they try to be you. They get a much better understanding of what it costs you to be you. And it was with each generation. I have 3 generations of children. Each generation we went through this process because they didn't think that I was going to make a living. All they thought was I was leaving them. You're leaving me. You're leaving narcissism. You're leaving me. And I told my oldest boys, I said, I was trying to explain to them why I had to go. And that was our major source of living. And so when I came back home back then, they give you a little brown bag with some money in it. And so I came in off the road trying to appease them and make them understand that I wasn't leaving them. I was going to provide for them. And I opened up the little package of money. It was just that big brown little envelope stuffed with quarters and dollars and $50 bills and all kinds of stuff in it. It might have been $250 all week or $300 preaching all week. And I brought the money in, I threw it down on the floor. And I told the boys, this is your brothers, your older brothers. I said, if I go down away, the comforter cannot come. I said, you understand? And they looked at me and said, yes, sir. And they nodded and walked out the room. It was only when they got grown that they told me that Jermaine looked over at Jamar and said, who the hell is the comforter? we laughed about that for years and years and years because I thought I had straightened the whole thing out. They didn't know who the comforter was. They didn't understand what I was talking about. You're speaking 2 different languages. And trying to get that to level up on the same playing floor is important.